It is no exaggeration to say that Joseph is as responsible as anyone for bringing the practice of Vipassanā, otherwise known as mindfulness, to the West from India. Joseph is certainly one of the finest meditation teachers I know. Why should I care about meditation practice or mindfulness? Why should I start a practice like this? What am I missing?
Well, I think the answer to that is really very simple. The first time when I went to India when I was looking for a teacher, and I met my first teacher there, and he said something very simple to me, and I think it conveys the underlying reason why we meditate. He said, if you want to understand your mind, sit down and observe it. And I just appreciated the simplicity of that. There was nothing to join, no rituals, no ceremonies. It's just the simple understanding that understanding ourselves is possible. It's very pragmatic and very simple, and there is a methodology for doing it. In that understanding of ourselves, we begin to see what creates suffering in our lives and what brings greater happiness and peace. And when we see that, we can make wiser choices. And as we make wiser choices, we become happier. And as we become happier, we make wiser choices in our lives. So it becomes a spiral of greater fulfillment and greater ease.
So you would say there's a direct connection between understanding the nature of your mind and in particular being able to observe its character moment to moment and actually living a wiser life and making better decisions that translate into your own happiness or ceasing to suffer unnecessarily.
Definitely. I mean, because we're all a mixture. We all have a whole range of skillful and unskillful thoughts. And we begin to see very directly without an intermediary, the kinds of thoughts and feelings and emotions that are productive of suffering for ourselves and others. When we feel greedy or angry or envious or jealous or, a lot of what are called the afflictive emotions, we can see directly and feel directly their nature. And we say, oh, this would be good to let go of. And we see those kind of thought patterns and emotions that are actually happiness producing. But this is not theoretical. That's the beauty of meditation, that it's not theoretical. It's not just following what we read in a book. We're actually experiencing for ourselves the nature of these thoughts, of these emotions. And we see that, when we're feeling generous, we're feeling kind, we're feeling compassionate, it makes us happy and it makes the people around us happy. And so the choices become more obvious. This is not to say that in the first hour of our meditation, all the old habit patterns of our mind, the unskillful ones, are going to disappear. This is why it's called meditation practice. It takes a repeated seeing and learning to effect the transformation.
Well, can you say something about how being able to observe the nature of your own thoughts and emotions and reactions, merely being able to observe it translates into being able to change course in any way? That's not intuitively obvious that would be the case.
It happens, I think, in a couple of ways. In one very obvious way, we begin to see the difference between being lost in a thought pattern, where we're just carried away in a train of association, and we're just lost in the thought, in all the emotions involved with it, and it can be lost for a short period of time, it can be lost for a really long period of time. We see the difference between that and being mindful that the thought and emotion are present. So this is a huge understanding, because before people begin some kind of introspection, some kind of meditative discipline, mostly we're just lost in and acting out whatever particular pattern of thoughts and emotions are there. With meditation or with mindfulness, we're actually beginning to observe the fact that they're there as they're happening. And so that gives us a little space. It gives us the possibility of not being carried away by them. And in that space, we have the choice. Do I want to build on this? Do I want to follow this? Or do I want to let it go? So that's one way the mindfulness gives us that freedom. Second way is what we actually learn from being mindful. And one of the things we learn is that all of these thoughts, emotions, and everything else are impermanent, that they're there and they're there for some time and then they disappear. And even though we all know this intellectually, we don't live it as if we know it.
Mm.
You know, we take our thoughts and emotions to be so stable in who we are. So seeing the impermanence of them again and again and again begins to loosen the bonds of attachment to them.
It's interesting to be precise in describing just how much of a change this is experientially when you really grasp the impermanence of an emotion like anger.